Mama of my girlfriend was spreading rumors that my wife got pregnant on purpose to marry me, so my mom. My mother-in-law despised me for years, and during her birthday, I overheard her bad-mouthing me. So I decided to confront her and discovered that my own mother had told her I trapped my husband into marriage by getting pregnant. Hi everyone, I'm Emily, 35, and I've been married to my husband John, 37, for almost a decade now. Our love story began in a rather unexpected place, a small, cozy cafe. John, with his charming personality, managed to muster up the courage to ask me out, and as they say, the rest is history. John has always been a smooth talker, which is probably how he won me over in the first place. As for me, I work as a graphic designer, bringing colors and shapes together to create eye-catching designs. Our dating life was simple and sweet, nothing too extravagant, just lots of laughter, late-night conversations, and the occasional movie night snuggled up on the couch. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. Our wedding wasn't exactly the fairy tale you might imagine. Instead, it was more of a whirlwind, spur-of-the-moment event. You see, not long after we started dating, I found out I was pregnant. Panic ensued. We were both relatively young and hadn't really considered marriage yet, but life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. So there we were, staring down the path of impending parenthood and trying to figure out our next move. After talking it over and weighing our options, we decided to take the plunge into marriage quite literally. And let me tell you, planning a wedding in a rush is no small feat. We scrambled to organize a small ceremony, gathering family and friends to witness our whirlwind union. But despite the chaos, it felt right. Surrounded by loved ones, we exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin. Our families were ecstatic, showering us with love and support every step of the way. My parents and John's parents hit it off from the start, which was such a relief. You never know how families will blend, but ours seemed to click instantly, sharing stories and laughter as if they had known each other for years. But then, after I gave birth to our daughter, things started to get a little chilly with my mother-in-law, Ruth, 65. At first, I thought it was just postpartum hormones messing with my emotions. But as time went on, her frosty behavior didn't thaw. It was as if I had suddenly become invisible to her. Whenever we were together, she barely acknowledged my presence, let alone engaged in any meaningful conversation. I tried to chat with her, but it was like talking to a brick wall, awkward and uncomfortable. And it wasn't just the silent treatment that got to me. No, Ruth had a way of making me feel like I was constantly walking on eggshells. Every move I made seemed to draw her disapproval or criticism. Take, for example, the way she'd nitpick at my cooking. I'd spend hours in the kitchen trying to prepare a delicious meal for the family, only to have her critique every dish. Too salty, too bland, too spicy, you name it. She'd find something to complain about. And let's not even get started on her comments about my parenting skills. It seemed like she had an opinion on everything, from how I dressed the baby to how I handled bedtime routines. No matter what I did, it was never good enough in her eyes. But perhaps the most frustrating part was her constant comparisons between me and John's ex-girlfriends. Yep, you heard that right. She had a running list of all his past flames and wasn't shy about reminding me how much better they were at this or that. I'd smile and nod, trying to brush off her comments, but inside, it felt like a punch to the gut every time. Here I was, doing my best to be a loving wife and mother, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I was always falling short in her eyes. And don't even get me started on the passive-aggressive gifts she'd give me on special occasions. You know, the ones, the not-so-subtle hints disguised as presents, like the cookbook filled with recipes for dishes she knew I hated, or the parenting book that felt more like a critique of my mothering skills than a helpful guide. It got to the point where I dreaded family gatherings, knowing I'd have to endure another round of her icy glares and backhanded compliments. But despite it all, I refused to let her negativity wear me down. I knew I was a good wife and mother, flaws and all, and while her approval would have been nice, I didn't need it to validate my worth. So, I focused on what truly mattered, my family, my happiness, and the love John and I shared, shotgun wedding and all. However, things took a turn for the worse when I got pregnant with our second child. Picture this: I'm pregnant. John and I are knee-deep in relationship issues, and Ruth's cold attitude is still going strong. John and I had our share of disagreements, the usual stuff that crops up when two people try to navigate life together. At times, it felt like we were speaking different languages. I'd try to express my feelings. He'd shut down, and before we knew it, we were knee-deep in a game of emotional charades. We both carried scars from past relationships, and those wounds had a way of rearing their ugly heads when we least expected it. It's hard to let your guard down when you've been hurt before. But therapy helped us start to mend those broken pieces. Between work, household chores, and the chaos of everyday life, it felt like John and I were ships passing in the night. We had become experts at coexisting, but somewhere along the way, we forgot how to truly connect. With a child and another on the way, we were also under a lot of financial stress. Money might not buy happiness, but it sure can cause a lot of headaches. We'd argue about budgets, splurges, and long-term goals until we were both blue in the face. Enter therapy or saving grace amidst the chaos. Week by week, we sat down with our therapist and unpacked all the baggage we'd been carrying around. Therapy helped us learn new communication strategies, rebuild trust, carve out quality time, and tackle our financial woes head-on. Over time, our financial situation improved as well. John switched jobs and received a substantial pay raise. But as if dealing with our own relationship struggles wasn't enough, throwing a pregnancy and Ruth's cold shoulder into the mix was emotional overload. Every snide remark, every passive-aggressive gesture, it all felt like salt in the wound. There were days when I felt like I was drowning in negativity, struggling to keep my head above water. And with another baby on the way, the pressure felt even heavier. Even after I had our second baby, Ruth's attitude didn't soften. She'd come over, showering John and the kids with affection, while I was left in the cold. It was like a broken record, her nitpicking every little thing I did, from how I dressed the kids to how I folded the laundry. Nothing escaped her eagle eye. And let me tell you, trying to juggle the demands of two little ones while dealing with her constant criticism was exhausting. John and I were doing our best to navigate the wild ride of parenthood with two kids in tow. It was a whirlwind of diapers, late-night feedings, and endless rounds of peekaboo. But amidst the chaos, we found moments of joy, watching our kids grow and learn, filling our home with warmth and laughter. As for Ruth, she seemed to have a knack for finding fault in everything I did, even when it came to raising the kids, like the time she dropped by unannounced and caught me feeding our daughter store-bought snacks. You'd think I'd committed a cardinal sin the way she carried on about the importance of homemade meals. Or how about the time she critiqued my choice of daycare for our eldest? According to her, I should have done more research, visited more facilities, never mind the fact that I'd spent weeks scouring the internet and touring daycare centers to find the best fit for our family. I also loathed her unsolicited advice on discipline. Every tantrum, every time out, she had an opinion on how I should handle it. It was as if she thought she knew better than I did, the woman who actually spent day in and day out with the kids. But despite her constant interference, John and I were determined not to let her negativity affect our family dynamic. We leaned on each other for support, finding strength in our love and commitment to one another. And you know what? It made us stronger and more resilient in the face of adversity. Everything took a surprising turn at Ruth's 65th birthday party, which took place just last weekend. Picture this, we're all dressed up, heading to the party, ready to celebrate this milestone moment. And let me tell you, I put some serious thought into her gift. Now, choosing a present for someone who's been less than warm and fuzzy toward you is no easy task. But call me optimistic, I figured, maybe, just maybe, this could be the olive branch we needed to thaw out the icy vibes between us. After much deliberation, I settled on a pair of stunning diamond earrings. They were similar to a set she had years ago, but had unfortunately lost. I thought, hey, what better way to show her I care than with a thoughtful gift that harkens back to happier times? So we arrived at the party, gift in hand, ready to put on a brave face. And you know what? Everything seemed to be going smoothly. People were laughing, chatting. It was a lively gathering. I handed over my carefully chosen present, a smile plastered on my face, hoping against hope that this would be the olive branch we needed to mend fences. For a fleeting moment, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, she actually liked it. But then, just as quickly as the moment came, it vanished. Her expression remained inscrutable, leaving me to wonder if I had missed the mark once again. The rest of the party went off without a hitch cake, candles, the whole 9 yards. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like a cloud looming over an otherwise sunny day. casting a shadow of doubt over my attempts to bridge the gap between us. However, just when I thought everything was going smoothly, I overheard Ruth talking to my sister-in-law about how I have this habit of showing off, and that's why I gave her the diamond earrings. Her words cut deep, like a knife to the heart. She accused me of being showy, implying that my gesture of giving her the diamond earrings was nothing more than a flashy attempt to win her favor. Ouch! I mean, talk about adding insult to injury. Here I was, trying to extend an olive branch, and she twisted it into something ugly and malicious. It felt like a slap in the face, to be honest. Like no matter what I did, it was never good enough for her. So you can imagine the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me when I confronted her about it in the kitchen. My heart was pounding. My palms were sweaty. I was a nervous wreck, to say the least. But I couldn't just let her words slide. I needed to know, did she really think I was trying to show off? Was that how she saw me after all this time? It was like a dagger to the heart, hearing her words echo in my mind. And her response? Well, let's just say it didn't exactly ease my troubled mind. She brushed it off, saying something about how giving her diamond earrings wasn't the smartest move, considering our financial situation. Like that was supposed to make it better somehow, but I wasn't about to let her off the hook that easily. I pressed her, asking if she truly believed I had ulterior motives behind my gift. Did she think I was trying to buy her affection? To win her over with flashy baubles and empty gestures? Or was I just trying to win over my mother-in-law? She acted surprised, asking what I meant by saying I was trying to win her over. Well, things quickly went from bad to worse during that kitchen confrontation. I mustered up the courage to lay it all out there, how her constant coldness towards me had been eating away at my soul. But instead of the heartfelt apology or understanding I was hoping for, I was met with a bombshell of accusations. I couldn't believe my ears when Ruth hit me with the bombshell she accused me of trapping her son, John. Like, excuse me, trapping him? Last time I checked, it takes two to tango, and John was just as much a part of this whirlwind romance as I was. I was floored, to say the least. Trapping him? What on earth was she talking about? I demanded answers, desperate to get to the bottom of this twisted tale she seemed to be spinning. She claimed she knew the truth. My mother, Mary, 63, had told her long ago. I had no idea what she meant, so I pressed for more information. According to Ruth, my mom had spilled some sort of secret about our shotgun wedding, that I had supposedly trapped John into marrying me by getting pregnant, not just once, but twice. She accused me of purposely getting pregnant again, when John and I were going through rough patches, just so he wouldn't leave me. I was floored. It was like a punch to the gut, hearing such outrageous accusations from someone I thought I could trust. I mean, how could my own mother feed into such hurtful lies? And why would Ruth even believe such nonsense? But despite the disbelief swirling inside me, I knew I had to set the record straight. I squared my shoulders, looked Ruth straight in the eye, and told her in no uncertain terms that she was dead wrong. I told her how I never once manipulated or coerced John into marrying me. Heck, I didn't even bring up the topic of marriage after I found out I was pregnant that first time. It was John who made the decision to propose, not me. And as for getting pregnant again during rough patches in our relationship, that was nothing more than a cruel fabrication. Sure, John and I had our fair share of ups and downs, but never, not once, did I resort to such manipulative tactics to keep him by my side. I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me, fueling my determination to set the record straight. I told Ruth that if she wanted the truth, she could ask her own son, he would set her straight, no doubt about it. So I called John into the kitchen and told him everything. John couldn't believe what he was hearing. He reassured Ruth, telling her that I never pressured him into marriage. It was his decision all along. Heck, he'd made up his mind long before I even got pregnant that first time. It was a relief to have him by my side, backing me up with the truth. Ruth's reaction? Well, let's just say she was eating humble pie. She realized her mistake, owned up to her misjudgment, and offered a heartfelt apology for all those years of being cold and standoffish towards me. But even as she apologized, a knot formed in the pit of my stomach. Sure, it felt good to have her finally acknowledge her wrongs, but the damage had been done. Years of frostiness and hostility, all because of a lie spun by my own mother. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, knowing that someone I should have been able to trust had been spreading hurtful lies about me behind my back. It was like a stab in the heart, realizing that the woman who brought me into this world could betray me in such a callous way. So even as Ruth apologized and John reassured me, I couldn't shake the unease lingering in the air. How could I move past this? How could I trust my own mother again, knowing she had been the source of so much pain and heartache? So I decided I needed to see my mother immediately. I sent John and the kids home, hopped into a cab, and made a beeline for my mother's place, which was about an hour away. As I sat in the back seat, the tension was palpable. My mind was racing, thoughts swirling in a chaotic whirlwind. How could my own mother betray me like this? What had I done to deserve such a betrayal? With each passing mile, my anxiety only grew, gnawing away at my insides like a ravenous beast. I needed answers, and I needed them now. So I braced myself for the confrontation that awaited me, steeling my resolve as we drew closer to my mother's doorstep. When I finally arrived, I wasted no time. I barged through the front door, my heart pounding in my chest as I confronted my mother head-on. I laid it all out on the table, recounting Ruth's accusations and demanding to know the truth. At first, my mom tried to deny it, brushing off my concerns with a dismissive wave of her hand. But when I pressed her, refusing to back down, the truth came tumbling out like a dam bursting under the weight of years of deception. She confessed that, yes, she had indeed told Ruth those hurtful lies about me trapping John into marriage. According to her twisted logic, John was too good for me, and the shotgun wedding was the only way I could ever hope to settle him down. I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me, the weight of her betrayal pressing down on me like a ton of bricks. How could she say such hurtful things about her own daughter? Didn't she realize the pain and anguish her words had caused? After my confrontation with my mother, it was clear she wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She didn't even seem to grasp the gravity of her betrayal. It was like a slap in the face, realizing that the woman who was supposed to love and support me unconditionally could be so callous with my feelings. At that moment, I knew I had to draw the line. This was the last straw. Sure, we were never super close, but she was still my mother, and she had shattered my trust in the worst possible way. I told her point blank that I was done. Done with her lies, done with her deceit, done with the toxic cycle of hurt and betrayal. I made it crystal clear that I was cutting her off, that she would never get the chance to poison my life or my children's lives with her toxic presence. It was a tough decision, but one I knew in my heart was necessary for my own sanity and well-being. Of course, she didn't take it well. She tried shouting, hurling insults my way, calling me an entitled brat and worse, but I didn't stick around to listen to her tirade. I had said my piece, and now it was time to walk away. When I got home, the floodgates opened. I collapsed into John's arms, the weight of the day crashing down on me all at once. I cried until there were no tears left, letting his comforting embrace wash away the pain and anguish of the day. But just when I thought maybe, just maybe, I could start to move on from the chaos, my cousin called. And let me tell you, they didn't hold back. They told me straight up that I might have been a little too harsh, that cutting my mother off from her grandchildren might be a step too far. That made me think, had I been too hasty in my decision? So, am I wrong for cutting off my mother because she lied to my mother-in-law about how I trapped my husband by getting pregnant? Update. The next day, after everything happened, Ruth showed up at our place with some food. I have to admit, I was taken aback. After everything that had gone down, I wasn't sure what to expect from her. But there she was, standing on our doorstep, looking contrite and apologetic. She wasted no time getting to the point, offering a heartfelt apology for the role she played in the whole mess. She admitted that she shouldn't have trusted my mother's words so easily, and that she could have saved us all a lot of trouble if she'd just seen through the lies from the start. And you know what? I appreciated her honesty. It takes guts to own up to your mistakes, and I could see that she genuinely regretted her actions. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, knowing that she finally understood the gravity of the situation. I thanked her for her apology, letting her know that while I was glad there was no more confusion, it would take me some time to fully process everything that had happened. After all, trust isn't something that can be rebuilt overnight. A lot of people have asked me about my relationship with my mother. There's not much to say. Growing up, my mom was always there to provide for me a roof over my head, food on the table, all that jazz. But when it came to the emotional stuff, well, let's just say she wasn't exactly Mother of the Year material. I guess you could say I had one of those good enough moms, the ones who do the bare minimum to keep their kids alive and well, but don't really go above and beyond in the love and nurturing department. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for everything she's done for me. But there's always been this nagging sense of emptiness, this feeling that something vital was missing from our relationship. Maybe I was too naive to realize it at the time, too caught up in my own little world to see the cracks forming in our family dynamic. Or maybe I just didn't want to admit that my mom wasn't the picture-perfect parent I'd always hoped she'd be. Looking back, it's easy to see the signs, the missed birthdays, the lack of affection, the constant feeling of being misunderstood and unloved. But at the time, I guess I just brushed it all off as normal. After all, isn't that what kids do? They make excuses for their parents, rationalizing away their shortcomings because the alternative is too painful to bear. So, no, there wasn't anything specifically wrong or traumatizing about my relationship with my mother. It was more like a slow drip of disappointment, a gradual realization that the person who was supposed to love me unconditionally just couldn't quite measure up to my expectations. But I won't let my past define me. I won't let my relationship with my mother dictate my future, because at the end of the day, I'm more than just the sum of my experiences. I'm a survivor and a fighter. Update, hi everyone. It's been a few weeks since my last update, and boy do I have a big one for you. So remember how I told you about Ruth and my mom's little spat? Well, it turns out it sparked a full-blown showdown. You see, over the years, Ruth and my mom had developed this strange sort of friendship. I guess they bonded over shared interests or something, I don't know. But the point is, Ruth took what my mom said about me at face value because of their so-called friendship. Anyway, fast forward to a few days ago, and Ruth decided she'd had enough of the lies and deception. She marched right up to my mom outside the church, yes, you heard that right, outside the church, and let her have it. From what I heard, it was like something out of a soap opera. There was yelling, finger-pointing, and maybe even a few choice words thrown in for good measure. Needless to say, it caused quite the scene, and pretty much everyone in our circle got wind of it. Now, you'd think my mom would be mortified, right? I mean, getting called out like that in public, talk about embarrassing. But knowing her, she probably just brushed it off like it was no big deal. As for Ruth, well, I think she felt pretty relieved to finally get everything off her chest. It was like a weight had been lifted, knowing that she'd stood up for me and set the record straight, once and for all. But my mom didn't take it well. She didn't call or text me after I confronted her, but she did start calling me after Ruth humiliated her. Suddenly my phone started blowing up with voicemails from Harold, blaming me for her newfound misery. She went on and on about how I was ruining her life, how none of her precious church friends would even look her way anymore. But you know what? Not once did she utter a single word of apology to me. Now, normally, I might have caved and called her back, tried to smooth things over like the dutiful daughter I'm supposed to be. But not this time. No, sir. I've had enough of her lies and manipulation. So I made a decision and am not going to stoop to her level. I'm not going to engage in her toxic games anymore. I'm cutting her off for good, and I'm not looking back. Sure, it's a tough pill to swallow, knowing that I'll never have the mother-daughter relationship I've always longed for. But sometimes, you gotta put your own mental health and well-being first, even if it means cutting ties with family. Update. Hey folks, it's been a minute since my last update, and let me tell you, a whole lot has gone down since then. So remember how I said I was ready to cut ties with my mom for good? Well, turns out life had other plans for me. Just when I thought I was done with her lies and manipulation, my mom started showing signs of dementia. And let me tell you, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Here I was, ready to wash my hands of her once and for all, and suddenly, I was faced with this heartbreaking reality. As her only daughter, I couldn't just turn my back on her, no matter how much she hurt me. It was tough seeing her like that, confused, frightened, not even recognizing her own daughter. It was like a punch to the gut, knowing that the woman I once knew was slipping away before my very eyes. For a while, my cousin has stepped in to help out, staying with her and providing the care she needs. But if her condition gets worse, we'll have to opt for a nursing home where she can get full-time care. So as I stand on the brink of this new chapter in my mom's journey, I can't help but feel a mix of emotions. Sadness, yes, but also a glimmer of hope that she'll get the care and support she needs, and hope that she'll find some measure of peace and comfort in her final days. And to all of you who've been following along on this roller coaster ride with me, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your kind words, your support, and your encouragement. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And who knows, Maybe, just maybe, this new chapter will bring with it a sense of healing and closure for me, for my mom, and for our entire family. Here's to hoping.